As introduced, my name is Tanguy Yu. I'm the co-founder and CEO of UbiCast. Actually, my mom is French and my father is Burmese, but from Chinese origins, hence the U. So what I'd like to talk about with you today is the following agenda. So a bit about UbiCast, what context are we evolving in. That'll take about 5 minutes. Then I'd like to take about 15 minutes to talk about our solution, the main applications to what we do. And then I'd be very happy to actually give you a demo of how this system works. So we'll be doing a recording together, just a few minutes, and we'll publish that recording to a USB drive, and I'll show you the results that we can have just within a few minutes. So you can see how this system really works. And then we'll be more of an open Q&A session if there's anything that comes up which hasn't come up during the presentation. So a bit about us. UbiCast was founded in 2007 with the person who's currently our CTO. We were both students at the time. Well, originally our goal was to build automatic recording systems for concert rooms, actually. This was the MySpace era. Maybe you remember MySpace. Rest in peace. But back then what we wanted to build was an automatic multi-camera system to record concert halls that would also live stream to MySpace. So the idea was to build different algorithms. So we'd analyze music to go from one camera angle to the other, for example, animate logos. And we knew from the start that there would be no user, that the whole operation had to be completely automated, and that it was we were designing a product that was directly connected to the internet. So we quickly changed to recording presentations as we met companies and universities who really had a serious requirement. Recording concerts is a very difficult legal issue, it turns out. But what's really stayed in our DNA is really this, is the idea of building automatic solutions that don't require any usage, any manual operation, because everyone wants to produce more and more video. We see this in companies and universities, that audiovisual teams are not able to keep up with the pace of the videos that are now required to be produced. Even if you have massive teams, if you want to scale video production, you really need automatic solutions. So this is how we started. Now we're the European leader for lecture capture, for e-learning video production. We have offices in Paris, in Brussels, in London, and soon to be in Oslo. Well, we currently serve over 300 equipped clients with our solutions. We have over 700 systems deployed, and we work across all spaces. So we work with defense companies, with banks, insurance, but half of our clients are education establishments. We can talk a bit more about who we work with, but we work with really the leading universities in Europe, like Cambridge University, the Sorbonne in Paris, the Bonn University in Germany, Erasmus and Radboud University in Holland. So all the really large universities are using our solutions today to record their lectures, but also to produce MOOC videos. So what I'd like to talk about is 3 trends that really inspire us to move forward today. The first one is that I think everyone knows this, we live in the video era. If you look at every day what's happening on the internet, there are about 4.2 billion Google searches, but there are 8.8 billion videos watched. I think this shows one thing, is that video has become the best way to share information. And if you look at what is happening actually on YouTube, so this is the figure of the hours added to YouTube every minute. And in 2015, they hit a milestone actually, where now there's more content being published to YouTube than there is produced worldwide by professionals. So if you look at TV channels, Hollywood, Bollywood, they now produce less content than you and I. So the biggest producers of content in the world now are users, hence the rise of user-generated content, UGC. So what this tells us is that there's a very strong trend of decentralization of production of content. Whereas a few years ago, still now in some cases that we see, you have audiovisual teams in companies, in universities, who are centralizing all of the video production. And well, this is definitely changing. Now teachers, students, everyone should and wants to be able to produce video. So the question is, how do we do this? How do we provide everyone a means to produce video that makes sense, that is useful for learning, and not just, producing hours and hours of video and having people lost in mountains of video. And the third trend is something that we think is very important, is content over form. What I mean by this is that the information inside of a video, the pedagogical content of a video is much more important than form. And this is also an evolution that we see. A few years ago, we still saw companies, universities, overproducing videos, maybe sometimes using like green screen, scripting, sometimes even hiring actors to create videos. This is a screenshot of the most viewed MOOC in the world. This is machine learning from Stanford University on Coursera. It has 1.2 million viewers who have finished the course, and the whole course is just this teacher speaking to a camcorder. It's a 17-video course, and it's just that. And this is an actual screenshot, and this is the quality. It's quite pixelated. It's not overproduced, but it is absolutely amazing. The guy is incredible. And I think that's what people want. And I mean, there are a number of studies that show this, that the #1 criteria for a student to view a learning video is obviously the information contained. And actually, even if you overproduce a video, you can even break the link between the learner and the teacher. They feel like they're just watching an ad, or they're watching something which isn't human. So I think these are three things which are important to understand our approach. So the common point between all of our users is that they want to put their presentations on video. Most of the time it's a speaker and information. It could be slides, it could be a document camera, it could be an interactive board. They want to take these two elements and put them into a video. They then want to either live stream this content for webinars, conferences, events such as this one, and or video on demand. So for e-learning, for flipped classrooms, to produce MOOCs, video messages and tutorials, mainly for companies. So what we've tried to do is provide a solution that allows people to do this very easily. If you look at video production, you typically have these 6 stages. You need to capture a video, then you need to do some form of editing, then publish it to a location, then manage who gets to see this video, who gets to edit it, then stream this out to viewers. This has a technical notion behind it, make sure that everyone on their device with their available bandwidth can access this video. And then you need to analyze, okay, who's watching this video, how long, on which device, is your project actually working, are people using these videos? And what we see a lot is that organizations need to combine many different solutions in a lot of cases to achieve these 6 steps. So it's many moving parts, a lot of software involved. Sometimes there are updates which break the chain, so you need to make sure that everything is working at the same time. You have test environments. We've tried to build an integrated solution to combine all of these stages. And it's actually just broken down into 2 stages. The first one, we have 2 solutions called the Studio and the Campus, each adapted to different situations, which do the first 3 steps. So they do the capture, editing, and publishing. You'll see that they actually do this automatically. And the last 3 stages are covered by the MediaServer. This is our video platform. You can consider it sort of like your private YouTube. And this platform connects, obviously, with our recording systems, and it connects with delivery channels, such as an LMS, a website, an intranet. So the idea is really for users to just press Start, do their presentation, as I'm doing here, press stop, and then the content is automatically going through these 6 stages. So we'll take a look at these 3 elements, one after the other. First, we'll talk about capturing content. So how does this system actually present itself? So the studio comes in 2 forms. It's either a fixed system, so this is a standard rack with a touchscreen that has the user interface, or a mobile system, which we have here, with all the features built in. An important thing to note is that everything that we do is Linux-based. We are definitely a Linux company, whether it's on the recording side or on the server side. This has a number of advantages, I'd say, for yourselves and for us. For us, it allows us to actually develop our own operating system and to provide a high level of stability, robustness, and a dedicated machine. You definitely don't want a system which, I mean, if it's based on Windows that people can install software on, that they can maybe play some games on or whatever. No, this is a dedicated machine that does just one thing. It also enables us to have a very light operating system and hence very performing system which does just what it's supposed to do. So the user interface is based on a touchscreen, but actually you'll see that what we provide most universities with doesn't have a user interface. It's all web controlled, it's all scheduled. This is our second solution called the Campus, which is designed for multi-room installations, where you just have a recording box in each room that does the capture side, and then everything is automated behind this. So the teacher doesn't actually need to be pressing buttons to start, stop. It's just fully passive so that we're recording lectures. Okay, so how does this actually work? So you're in a room where there's a presentation. There can be people or not, actually. If you're recording a video for a MOOC, for example, there's obviously no audience. In this room, there's a microphone, there's a computer which is connected to the video projector. What we do is that we put a camera in that room. In this case, we have a camera in the back over here. This is a network camera. It's a Canon Full HD camera. What's pretty useful is that we just have one network cable running from the camera all the way to the recording system. That cable is transporting power, video, and commands. I say this because it's easy to deploy. I mean, we support IP cameras, but we also support HDMI, SDI, any type of traditional cameras. But we definitely actively suggest to our users to use IP cameras. They're much more reliable. They're meant to be turned on 24/7. And what we do is that we connect the camera to the system, and we connect the data source as well to the system. So in this case, my laptop is actually going into a data splitter, and this data splitter is sending the signal to the projector and to the recording system. So everything which is appearing here, everything which is going to appear on my screen is being recorded. I say this, so we're actually recording a data signal. This is not a PowerPoint plugin, for example, so it doesn't force the teacher to use a specific piece of software. You can be showcasing accounting software, it can be Keynote, PDF, Excel, whatever. Whatever is on your screen is being recorded. We record this in full quality, so we record up to 1920 by 1200, so full res. It's recorded as a video, so it's actually captured in 60 images per second, rendered in 30. We do this because, I mean, most people have animations, they want to show video, so the output is extremely smooth, you'll see in the demo. We record audio, we record video, so as I was saying, pretty much any type of video input. And then after that, there's a number of things which happen automatically in the system. So I'd like to show just a few of those. There are a lot, so we can't talk about everything today. The first thing that we do is that we analyze the data signal. Actually, so right now we're recording what's coming out of my screen. Okay, so this is a video signal, very high res. There's an algorithm which is analyzing for pixel changes. Every time there's a significant amount of pixel that change, and then they stop changing, the system will take a full resolution JPEG capture and index that in time. So while we're recording data as video, we're also breaking up the presentation. We're already preparing slide-by-slide navigation for students. Another reason why we break down this presentation and we extract pictures, basically, of the screen, is that we also run optical character recognition, so we will extract all the words out of all the slides. The reason why we do this is for search, obviously. If you're recording a lot of lectures, you will have a lot of long videos. We see that students use these recordings for many reasons, sometimes to catch up, sometimes for revisions. The ability for search to search for words which are in the presentation is very important. So this is the first thing that we do. We also do audio normalization. This is just so that if you have a speaker who's talking so loud, maybe not so loud, or maybe with a microphone, the audio level is consistent for playback. It's just much nicer to watch afterwards. Another thing that we do, and this is completely unique to UbiCast. This is a technology that we've been developing since 2011. It's gotten smarter and smarter over time. Is a software-based tracking system. So currently, this is the camera's not moving as I move around. Okay, so it's just filming me in a fixed position. But what happens is that inside of this fixed position, which is typically the area in which I would be moving, so maybe from that wall to about where my computer is. Normally, I don't go out of this area. I can move closer here. What the system does is that it detects within this video face and shoulders using a special algorithm, and it will find human beings in this area. So in this case, it's found two people, so these two people on stage. And what the system does is that it will extract a portion of this video, which is this green rectangle, and this is the part of the video which is going to be used in the final output. So obviously I can move around. This green rectangle can move, and it follows me as I'm moving. But the advantage of this is that it's very cost effective because you don't need a mechanical camera. It's extremely smooth. There are some cameras which do physical tracking, but here, actually, this green rectangle is moving on vector-based movement. And it actually does movement anticipation as well. So as I move to the right, it's already sort of panning to the right, and it smooths out the movement. It's just nicer to watch for a student. And especially, it's correctable. So in this case, we have two people. By default, if it finds two people, it will put both of them on camera. If these two people start moving away from each other, the angle gets larger. If one goes out, then we just focus on another person. But let's say we want to not film this guy over here. It's just one press of a button on the user interface and just say, OK, this guy, I don't want to track him. And it will recalculate, extract, and replace the video. This is a very important notion. Everything which is done automatically by our system can be corrected. We don't have the pretension of being 100%. 95 is already pretty good. But we think that if you're doing things automatically, you should be able to correct them if there's a mistake. Another thing here is that it is completely passive. You don't have to wear an infrared badge. You don't have to be wearing anything specific. And it's using specifically shoulders. So if I turn around and I start writing on a board, for example, it's still tracking me. Okay, so this is sort of the simulation of a cameraman in the room. The idea is to have a close-up shot of the teacher without having to have a person in each lecture room. We wanted to bring things a bit further and simulate actually the presence of a production team actually in the room. So we're big fans of TED, TED.com conferences at UbiCast. So what we did is that we analyzed about 30 hours of TED conferences, and we deducted what are the production rules that are used at TED to create dynamic content. So instead of having just your teacher or your trainer and slides side by side for an hour and a half, or whatever, for example, if I show a new slide, and if I stay on that slide for a few seconds, the slide will go full screen for a few seconds, and then we go back to normal composition. If I'm showing a video in my presentation, there's no use seeing me. I'm just watching the screen like all of you, so the video runs full screen while it's running. If I've been on the same slide for a certain amount of time, Obviously, I'm not talking about the slide anymore. You just see the presenter full screen. So what the system does is that it's animating this video according to audio-visual events to produce a professional, nicer to watch video, even though the user experience is just start and stop. There are other ways that, this is animated as well. So for example, if I disconnect my computer, maybe I'm at a conference, for example, if I disconnect the computer, then we switch to full screen on the presenter, things like this. These are rules which are configurable in the system, so you can deactivate them, you can change the settings, but the vast majority of our users use these, of course. And the last stage that the system does is post-production, branding. This is what takes a lot of time in a lot of cases. So in your videos, you want to put a logo, maybe put a background over here behind the video and the slides. You want to put an introduction video, like an introduction clip, a little clip at the end as well. These are all things which are done automatically by the system using a template system. So the way this works is, let's say you have maybe geography and mathematics. Maybe there's two different templates. And when you're recording mathematics class, maybe the interactive board or the slides are much bigger so that students can see them more clearly. In geography, maybe the teacher is showing a lot of maps. So maybe this part of the video is larger and the ratio around the speaker is not 8:9 as it is here. Maybe it's 16:9. So you can really put all of the settings that are in the system into templates so that, once again, you just press start, stop, and the system knows where it should be publishing the video to, who it should notify by email, what kind of quality it should be outputting. All of this is set into the system. So yeah, we could talk about this for quite a while. Anyway, I'd like to show all of this to you later in the demo. Do you have a question? No? All right. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So that was the studio. As I said earlier, we have two recording solutions: the studio and the campus. Both are adapted, I'd say, to different types of projects. Actually, if you're equipping one or two rooms. Maybe a room like this one, or maybe you want to outfit a video recording room to record MOOCs. The studio is definitely the way to go. If you're equipping more than 3 rooms, the solution is the campus. And actually, if you look at the way that costing is made, it makes more sense to install a campus from 3 rooms onwards. So the campus is composed of 3 elements. It's composed of recording systems in each room, of a central post-production unit, which typically is installed in the audiovisual team's office. And this system is able to correct videos which have been published to the platform. So what happens is that when you're producing a lot of content, you typically have your recording systems which publish directly to your platform. And if somehow at some point there was a mistake, you'll see how we can find that out. Well, you can fetch videos, import them into the post-production system, just do your quick editing, and then republish them. And the last component is a web interface to manage the whole thing. So a quick schematic would look kind of like this, where you have recorders in room 1, room 2, room X. Once a video has been recorded, it's automatically published through the network to the editing station. That editing station publishes to the streaming infrastructure, and then it's delivered to students or learners. What really sets the campus apart is that this whole installation, the whole deployment, is managed by what we call the campus manager. So this is a web interface which you can access on any device. It's adaptive, it's built on HTML5. So this is actually a real-life example of a university that has many recording systems, obviously. Each of these squares is a recording system, and if you click on one, you will actually see what's happening on that machine right then. So you can see a preview of the video feed, of the data feed. This allows audiovisual teams to support a teacher remotely. Maybe tomorrow you have a teacher who's doing their first recording. You can tell them, don't worry, we're making sure that everything's working okay, but this you can do from the comfort of your own home. Maybe you're in the bath or something, and you can just be on your tablet and making sure that everything's working fine. So this is full fleet overview. You also get alerts, so network type alerts, audiovisual type alerts. If you have a cable, for example, in the room which is a bit damaged and which is generating some digital noise, it will send you this type of alert. I mean, there are pages of alerts, and you can choose who gets which alerts by email. You can even connect to an SMS server if you like. Remote control in preview, and very useful especially is scheduling. So each system on its own, or it can be associated to a group, has its own calendar. So you can say, okay, this machine on Tuesday is going to be recording from 9 to 12. It's going to be this teacher. This is the course ID. This relates back to your LMS, whether it's Moodle, Blackboard, whatever. So it knows exactly where to publish the video. If you have some timetabling software, maybe you manage your rooms using some type of software, we can integrate with that so that you just schedule all of your lectures in advance, and then everything is recorded automatically. So that was for the campus. Once you've recorded your video, whether it's with the studio or with the campus, you can very easily share these videos. You can publish them on USB or FTP. This is what we'll be doing later during the demo. You can export as just a simple video podcast. We support every video format except for Silverlight. You can export for desktop editing as well. So we have a specific export for Adobe Premiere and Apple Final Cut if you want to do heavier post-production. And you can also export a rich media package. This can be SCORMed, so both standard versions of SCORM are supported. This is what we'll be showing you later on during the demo. You can also upload directly to third-party platforms like YouTube. We're actually one of the 12 officially supported platforms by YouTube. So you can export this way, but this is not the most industrial way of sharing videos. If you start putting videos on your LMS, you're somehow burdening your LMS. Like if you deploy Moodle, for example, on a server, you'll see that the default maximum size of an attachment on Moodle is 60 MB. The reason for that is because Moodle is not a video platform. It's not meant to handle video. It's a web platform. So the way of distributing content, especially in universities or in large companies, is to have a video platform behind your user front end, I would say. So this is what I'd like to continue talking about, is the second part of what we do, which is content delivery. Okay. Do you have any questions, first of all, on this first part, on how the recording systems work?
Let's say the backdrop, there is a picture of a person.
Yep.
Would the system accidentally think it's one of the presenters, or do you mean that it has to be plain, no human being?
Yeah, okay, so the question is, if there's a backdrop, let's say you have a poster, you have a picture, is that going to be picked up by tracking? Yes, we've thought of this. So first of all, when you set up a room, you set up an analysis area. So it's typically the area in which you will have the head and shoulders of a presenter moving along. But you could still have a poster back here, and that will be in the analysis area. So what we do when we set up a room, there's actually a setup that you do just once when you're outfitting a room, and it will identify all of the objects in that room, and then you can permanently ban these objects, so they will never be picked up. Actually, the most common example that we see is, it's a bit strange, but it's a fire extinguisher. Because if you think about it, like for a computer, a fire extinguisher kind of looks like a human being. It's got like a thin head and shoulders. So yeah, that's the one that we see the most. So yes, you can permanently ban objects so that they're not picked up anymore. And the analysis area is mostly used, for example, here in the frame, we have these two ladies who are in the front. They're definitely in the camera frame, but they're not in the analysis area. So I will be the only person picked up in this video. That's all right. Div, any more questions? Okay. Okay, so the delivery part is actually, I'd say, the most important part of the projects that we handle. In a lot of cases, we meet organizations who are saying, okay, we need to produce videos, we need to get these videos out to our students. And so they start by acquiring recording systems, and they say, we'll handle the delivery part later. We'll just start by posting videos on our LMS. I'd say that's a risky approach because, first of all, when you start providing videos to students, they will go for the videos. They will start watching them, and probably very heavily. We've crashed dozens and dozens of LMSs for our clients who just publish videos on their LMS. And when that happens, well, the whole LMS is down. So I'd say talking about the delivery parts from the start is quite important. What we see is that your video environment is typically composed of multiple elements where you have videos. Maybe you have videos on your LMS, maybe you have some on your intranet, you have some on social media, maybe on some server somewhere which is inaccessible or not, people don't know where it is. And your students or learners have to connect to all these 4 locations. Well, first of all, if you think back at YouTube, why does YouTube work so well? It's because it's a single place. It's a one-stop shop for all of your videos. So if a student is looking for a video, maybe of a conference, of a lecture, it should all be in the same place. It doesn't mean that your students should have to access their videos on the video platform. What it means is that the video platform should provide content to these sources so that a student can go onto the video platform and search throughout all the videos that they have access to. But this also makes sense on a technical and infrastructure level. Once again, going back to the fact that an LMS, Moodle, Blackboard, Sakai, Ilias, whatever you're using, doesn't have a streaming server built in. It's a web server. So the way this works is that the MediaServer integrates with all of these platforms using building blocks, using embed codes. It depends what you're using. For the big platforms such as Blackboard and Moodle, we have dedicated building blocks. And the content is provided to these platforms, but it's actually hosted on the MediaServer. Sort of like if you're adding a YouTube video on your Facebook wall. When you press play, it's on Facebook, but it's actually coming from a Google server. And what we do a lot is also content migration from the server onto the MediaServer so that everything is in one place. It's in multiple formats, it's in multiple bit rates, etc. So I'd like to talk a bit about this MediaServer. What is it exactly? Actually, we'll first start with just an example of why this makes sense in terms of infrastructure. This is a quick example. Let's say whether you're a company or a university, you have your headquarters and maybe a regional office or a partner university. You're using, you want to address, let's say, 100 learners. Okay, and each of these learners wants to access an HD video. Let's say it's going to be 1 meg per second per viewer. Should be a bit less, around 700, but this is just to round it up. If you have your LMS, which is hosted externally, and you have 50 learners who want to access the video maybe on your partner university and maybe 50 on your university building. Your LMS is going to be connected to both of these, and what's going to happen is that you're going to need 50 megabytes per second for each of these buildings, 50 learners per location. Maybe here on the university you're running on the local network, so that's kind of fine. But your partner university will definitely, well, I think, probably not have 50 megabytes per second to allocate to 50 learners. And what if you have 200 learners? 200 megabytes per second, it will just not work. So the way to optimize this is to is to put in the infrastructure that we were talking about earlier, where it's the media server who provides content to the LMS. The media server has a component to it, which we call the media cache. So this is a proxy caching system. I won't go into like too many technical details, but what this does is that it sits on the local networks. And when you have a student here who wants to access a video from the LMS, it will ask the cache, and the cache will ask the LMS. And once this cache has streamed this video, it will store it over here. This cache can store about 7,000 hours of video. And the idea is that this cache is sitting on the local network here, and it can serve up to 1,000 people. So actually, the bandwidth requirement goes from 50 for 50 people to 1 megabyte per second for 50 people. And actually, it would still be 1 megabyte per second if you have 1,000 people on this campus. So this is probably the most technical part of this presentation, but what I want to say is that at UbiCast, we actually have two development teams. We have a multimedia team that works on the recording systems, and we have a web and infrastructure team that works on this type of optimization. Because what we've seen is that our clients, they use a lot of video. I'll show you an example at the end. I mean, it's like, dozens of years of videos streamed per year. So you really have to think about what is the network impact of video when you're deploying this type of system. And we've experienced this in a lot of cases, and we have solutions for this. I think it's important to know this, that this is a solution that can scale with large audiences. It's not just about easily creating videos. It's about actually getting them out to your students once they've been created. So, okay. Now, the media server is actually software, right? It's software which can sit on a cloud infrastructure, or it can sit on your local network, on a dedicated or on a virtual machine. This can be supplied by you or supplied by us. As I said earlier, this is based on Linux. It's based on Ubuntu server 16.4 Learn LTS. We also do quite a bit of hybrid deployments. So this is mostly for companies or for universities who also serve like professional students who come in for MBAs and this type of stuff. So the idea is that you have a media server which is deployed on your local network, and all of the students who are on the local network are served by this media server. And you have a duplicate which is in the cloud, and this is serving all of the people who are outside of your network. So people who are connecting from their 3G or 4G phones or connecting from home. So the media server is this central point where you have your content, delivers content to your LMS, to your intranet. This is something we already talked about. And there are multiple inputs that are going to go into this media server. Obviously, the studio and campus aren't the only source of content. You can record videos with our systems, publish them directly to the media server. But you can also upload existing videos to the media server. You probably all have DVDs, videos, which are maybe a bit scattered everywhere. And having all these in one central searchable location makes a lot of sense for your students. And one thing that we just added recently, we'll talk a bit more about that later, is screencasts. We were starting to have a lot of requests from universities to say, okay, we can't put a recording system in all of the rooms that we have. And sometimes we want to allow a teacher or a student to create a video from their own computer, from their own PC, whether it's a Mac, Linux, Windows. And so this is a feature that we actually built into the media server, so that you have hardware-based capture, software-based capture, and your existing videos all going into one location. So we'll talk a bit more about screencast in a few minutes. So some of the features of the media server has a global search engine. The search engine searches for the keywords inside the slides. the descriptions, authors, a whole number of things. And actually this year we're going to be introducing an optional feature that you can add to the MediaServer, which is speech to text. So all of the videos, or a selected part of the videos which you upload on the MediaServer, will be analyzed, and all of the spoken words in those videos will become searchable. We've been testing this for 4 years now, and only now we feel comfortable releasing this. So this is a really, really big work in progress, and we think it's really going to change the way you can search for information. Second is the portal can be fully branded. This is an example, maybe I should have changed this one. This is a very famous conference room in Paris. All of their conferences are streamed by, captured by our solutions, streamed by our infrastructure, and their MediaServer is actually now their front-facing portal. So people access the portal and they directly access their conferences. Everything can be customized. Logo, header, everything, and especially you have access to the style sheets. So if you want to completely brand your portal, you can easily do that. I say this because, since earlier I've been saying that the MediaServer sort of serves content to your LMS, but a lot of universities still use the MediaServer as a public portal. So you can have some videos which are public, and some which are private only for your students. Some of them are not even visible to the public, but they're there. This can be for many different reasons, maybe to attract students, for publicity, just to have a web presence, because the MediaServer supports, is highly SEO compliant, so it will definitely turn up once you've established it, when people start typing the name of your university. Third feature is, so we integrate with all existing authentication systems, so LDAP, CAS, LTI, Kerberos, you name it. So the idea is that students log in only once on your LMS, and the MediaServer knows if the student is actually allowed to watch, comment, edit, delete this video. So the rights are inferred from the LMS onto the MediaServer. And we also are able to get very detailed viewing statistics, much more than you would get through an LMS. So how many times a video has been seen, how many times the videos of a channel have been seen, but also what we have here, which is sort of like a heat map of a single video. So when do people stop watching? What are the parts of the video that are being watched? And so a couple of features. So this is the one that we were talking about earlier, built-in screen capture. We're actually the first company to release this technology this way. So it's using HTML5 and WebRTC. So the way this works is that you have a teacher who logs on to the MediaServer. There's a button directly, once they've logged in, directly on the home page, which is record, and they hit that, and they're able to record their webcam, their screen in full resolution, and audio. So it allows them to very easily create a quick video. Maybe it's an introduction to their next course. Maybe they want to create MOOCs this way, because actually this has a built-in chroma key feature. So you can have this white background. It supports branding as well, so logos. And we still do optical character recognition on the screen. So all the content that is produced is highly searchable. And this really works on all platforms, Mac, PC, and even Linux. Everyone always forgets Linux. There are a lot of screen capture software out there, so we don't intend on replacing those. Most of them are authoring tools like Articulate. I mean, they're really awesome at what they do. What we wanted is really an easy and universal way of providing this feature. You can even say to students, okay, maybe this report handed in via video. And if you look at how a lot of this authoring tool software is provided, it's per license, per user. We decided to add the Web Studio, as we call it, into the MediaServer, and it's unlimited number of users. So it can be used by 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 students. It's completely free, unlimited use. So this is really going in the direction of democratization of video production. Anyone can produce a video from their computer. Second interesting feature is we talked about earlier is full device and bandwidth adaptation. We have a very strong presence in Germany. Actually, in Germany, this is a legal requirement. You are not allowed to discriminate devices and internet connection speeds. So we're backwards compatible with Internet Explorer 6. It's like really old, and Blackberries. I mean. We have a whole part of our team that does just this, like makes sure that the content works everywhere. So typically when you upload a file, you'll have a 720p, 567, 480, 320, and we also even do a version which is just audio and refreshing JPEG slides if a student has a really slow internet connection, like on Edge, for example. So they can at least see the lecture, but it's just audio and slides. They don't get the video, but at least they get access. So this is an important part of what we do. And so last but not least, and this is we're almost done, is the player. Last year we introduced this new player. We wrote a new video player from scratch. We weren't happy with what was out there in the market. So this is a HTML5 player with a Flash fallback. And well, first of all, it works on all devices. It adapts itself. You can modify the playback speed on the player. So if you want to let a student go quickly through a lecture, you can go up to 1.8 times without too much audio deformation. You can go all the way down to times 0.5. Maybe you have students who are listening to a course. It's not their mother tongue, so it's just going slowly. The player supports subtitles. It supports attached documents. And especially, this is the interesting part, it has a unique time-based element to it. So I'll explain how this works. So this is a preview of the player. An interesting feature actually here is this button over here. This allows, if you click here, this calls, remember the JPEGs that are taken automatically every time there's a new slide or a new element? If you click here, that JPEG shows full screen. So if you're showing a presentation or data with very detailed figures, maybe you're doing a demo of Excel or accounting software, for example. It's another good example. This allows you to see very crisp details on data. Because this is a rendered video, it's compressed, so it will never be as clear as a nice, clean JPEG. So this is the player. What we built is a sidebar. We do a lot of our development with a focus group of universities in Europe. So this is Cambridge University. It's 5 universities, like leading universities in Europe. And the main feedback that we were getting is, okay, now we have all of these videos, but how can we provide more than a video, but a learning experience? How can we engage our students more than just having them press play and watch a video? So the first thing that came up was comments, for students to be able to place comments in a video. But if you're talking about a lecture which is an hour long, if you want to comment a specific part of a lecture, if you place a comment on a video that's an hour long, it doesn't really make sense. So the first thing that we built was a time-based system. So you can see, for example, this comment is at 2 minutes 17. What happened here is that the student was watching the video and he pressed plus over here and says, okay, I want to add a comment or a question at exactly 2 minutes 17. I want to ask the teacher, what were they saying at this part? And actually this comment can be a question, it can be a link, it can be a YouTube video, it can be a Wikipedia article. So this makes space for contribution, for collaboration. And by allowing students to do this, you're actually saying, okay, here is more than a video. It's a basis for learning, and you can enrich this. You can make this more than a video. You can make this rich media. And we've seen universities a few weeks after a lecture, this is much more than just a video. You've had students putting links to external articles, and it's much richer than just a video. You can add different types of annotations, actually. You can customize, you can have as many annotations as you like. An annotation can also be an activity. So we have two built-in activities in the MediaServer. One of them are questions, and the second is a poll. So as a teacher, typically, once you've recorded your video, you can go back into here and go to 2 minutes 17 and say, I want to add a question at this moment. This is maybe more related for MOOCs. So when a student is watching this video at 2 minutes 17, the video pauses, a question pops up, and they need to answer this question. If they've made a mistake, then they get the answer, and then they can continue watching the video. So it's building more interactivity, more engagement into the video, but directly into the player. An activity can also be an external link. So let's say you want to add a YouTube video, which is like 2 minutes. It maybe explains a notion in more detail. So at 2 minutes 17, this video pauses. The YouTube video will play over here, so your student is still within your LMS. They don't go onto YouTube. The video plays. At the end of the video, it closes, and they're back onto this player. You can customize these annotations, and one that we see is flag difficulty. Actually, most of the time it's I don't understand, and you can have students placing I don't understand tags in the video. And the idea is if you have a group of tags which are I don't understand around the same area, there's an automatic email which is sent to the teacher saying, okay, this part of your course seems to not be clear to students. So this is really building interactivity into the player. So yeah, the whole goal of this was, once again, not to just provide an end result to the students. Maybe they won't contribute, but the fact that they can, at least we think, and what we've seen in our experience, really changes the dynamic of how the students relate to this content that you're providing to them. It's not just, here you are, watch this video. It's, okay, contribute if you want, So this was really the idea, is to build presenter feedback, collaboration and camaraderie between students. Maybe you saw earlier, students can also take private notes directly in the player. They can share those private notes as well. And it's a more engaging experience if you provide these interactive features directly in the player. So that's heading towards the end. Today, as I said earlier, we serve about 300 clients, 50-50 between, let's say, corporates and education. In Europe, definitely, we are the biggest player. We serve largest universities in the UK: Cambridge, Warwick, in Dublin. Pretty much the whole city is covered by UbiCast, Liverpool University, and in France, obviously, the Polytechnic School, Centrale, Sorbonne, all the big names. So what are these people mainly doing? Number one is lecture capture. This is the first application. Why would you want to record lectures? First of all, we can send these over to you. This presentation can last the whole day if you give me the whole day, but we have the figures behind this. We've done a number of studies that show that if you record lectures, it increases students' participation during class. By the way, the first thing that most people think is if you record lectures, students will stop coming to class. This is completely false. This is completely false. There are overwhelming studies across the world that show that this doesn't happen. If the student doesn't want to come to class, they will not come to class in the first place anyway. So number one, it increases student participation. Number two, and this is quite an important one, is to adapt to student schedules. We have a lot of case studies with universities. Some of them, students are working part-time. Some of them live very far, so if they're just coming in for half a day of class, well, they'd just rather watch the video from home. Some of them are sick. So we even have some universities who have specific programs for incarcerated students, some who are in hospitals. I mean, there are lots and lots of examples. Sorry, yes?
For this lecture capturing, can you do live streaming?
Yes, absolutely. The system does live streaming and local streaming as well. So the difference being live streaming will go to a server and that will go to a remote location, not on the same network. Okay. In this case, you have about 3 to 5 seconds delay between the actual recording and delivery. Sorry?
For how far and how many participants?
That depends on the infrastructure which is behind it. So that's an infrastructure question. So if you have a recording system which is sending a stream to a media server, let's say this media server is running on your campus. Okay, if you have 100 megabytes upload, then dedicated to this, and let's say your stream is 500 kilobytes, then you can serve 200 people. And this is why most of the time, if you have people remote, you would put a cache streaming server over there so that you're just using 1 meg to the cache and then the cache streams out to these people. If you've deployed your media server in the cloud, then we have different plans that we offer. We have plans that go from 25 to 1,000 simultaneous viewers and actually above. Our record today is 16,000 concurrent viewers on an HD live stream.
For example, I'm running a program now that involves 8 universities.
Okay.
Right. So, do they have to have all these 8 universities? Do they have to have the same system so that they can?
So that they can access. In each university, you would have maybe like one room, which is like one computer, which is connected to a video projector. No, definitely not. No. What will happen is that each of these rooms is considered as a viewer. And if you only have 8 viewers, then I mean, even a basic media server deployment will easily serve that requirement. So in this case, you'd have your recording system, which sends one stream to the media server, which streams out to the 8 people. You send them a link beforehand. So the way this happens, that you have.
We are not talking about 8 people, but 8 institutions.
Sorry, yeah.
800 students.
Okay. But are they watching each on their own device, or maybe in the same room watching?
Can they watch using their own laptop, or just can this be used on mobile?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So they can be at anywhere at any time.
Yes.
So the institution will not do not have to have this the applications for the one that hosting.
Yeah, the institution doesn't need the media server on site. The students will not need to download or install any software on their mobile phones or on their laptops. The only thing that we would have to maybe look into more detail is if you talk about 800 students, streaming is unicast. You need to send one stream to each person. So if you have 8 universities, ideally what you do is you put a media cache in each of these universities. So you're actually streaming to 8 users, and each of these users which is the cache, is able to stream out to another 1,000 students. If you do this, then extremely reliable infrastructure.
Would that cost money?
Yes, the caches have a yearly license to them, but I mean, we can talk about pricing. It's not huge amounts. It's a server software basically.
Based on her question, it's like there are 8 universities participating with UPM, so the 8 universities would have to invest in this media cache. Is that correct?
That would be the ideal way of doing this. Yes. Otherwise, the immediate solution is just to say that students have to maybe go into a room, and in that room you have a PC which is receiving the live stream, and that one is connected to a projector, and you would just project the course for your students. So you, again, this is the constraint of video. It's a heavy media.
Can they interact?
They can interact via a live chat, for example, so they can ask questions. These questions can be moderated on the other side. That's usually how it happens, because if you have a teacher who's doing their course and they're being bombarded with questions, that's a bit difficult. So you'd have someone who's sort of filtering the questions, and as an interesting question comes up, they say, okay, this one is accepted, it appears for everyone, and then the teacher responds to it.
So it's like a webinar.
Webinar style, yes. This is one to many. You know, sometimes we get the question of, you know, can students share their webcam? This is typically when you want students to share their webcam or ask questions, you're in a few-to-few scenario. But here, this is one to many. I mean, one teacher to 800 students. So how do you filter out the interactions? The best way is through written questions.
Do we have, for example, you in the middle of lecture and all the 20 students are accessing, and let's say there is like one student who's like continuously disrupting the lesson. Would you be able
By asking questions and, yeah.
disrupting, and you want to like actually silence that student? How do you do that?
Yeah, there's a ban button. Yeah. You actually ban that user from asking questions. You can configure that ban button. But there's one thing though, is that when the student logs into the video, they've logged in through their university account. So when they ask a question, their name appears. Okay. Oh, so they're still, yeah. Okay. It's an interesting student. Yeah. But yeah, no, you can ban him. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
On the part of interactivity, I understood that you mentioned that the questions would have to be typed. Is it possible for audio, audio question?
Yeah. Well, okay. We can do this. It is not something that we provide. The sidebar is able. You can open any web widget. Okay, so any web application. And there are many web applications that allow people to share their microphones. So this is not something that UbiCast provides, but if this is a requirement that you have, we can suggest an audio application that can be built into the MediaServer, and you can have that feature. So yes, it is possible. I mean, even screen sharing and webcam sharing is possible. It's just that we don't provide this as a built-in feature because we don't think that it's... for small classes, it will work. For large university classes, it usually doesn't. But yes, you can build that in if you like. In the same way that if you're doing a live stream, maybe for a conference, you can put in a Twitter wall, for example, which is on the side of the player. You can put in a survey from SurveyMonkey. You can embed any third-party web application in the player. So the possibilities are almost limitless. Yeah.
But you were saying just now it doesn't have to go through your LMS, right?
It doesn't have to go through your LMS. Yeah, the MediaServer is its own portal. So let's say you buy the domain name universityx.tv. That can be your video portal, so students can go to universityx.tv and they can access the videos that they have the rights on. Most of the time, universities that we work with want students to access lectures via the LMS because they want students to have a single point of entry for everything, for their courses, for documents, etc. So the videos are integrated into the LMS. And the portal is mostly for public content, like conferences, maybe videos that have been done by the marketing team, this sort of stuff.
Yes, but then, I mean, it's good. When we use the LMS, definitely we have to use the LMS because we need to capture our blended learning requirement.
Okay.
So, but then if this is the platform that we use that embed into the LMS, it will become as one link, right? It's just a link like like LTI?
Yes, LTI, absolutely. It's actually not a link. It's an actual embed. So in your course, which has multiple modules, maybe you have one module which is an interactive exercise, and module number 2, when they click on it, they arrive and there's a video which is on their screen, and that video has been embedded from the MediaServer. So it's definitely not a link, because otherwise they're just swapping from one platform to the other. In some cases, the students don't see the MediaServer at all. It's simply a back-end platform. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of the one that 8 universities just now.
Yeah.
For me to because our LMS will be for our UPM students.
Okay.
The students from the other 7 universities, they will not be able to join through the LMS.
Okay. There are many ways. Yeah, there are different ways you can address that. You can either make it. You can make it a hidden public video, for example. So anyone who has the link to this video can access it. You can have it just as only on your LMS, and maybe have a duplicate version which accepts IP addresses of those universities. There are many ways of addressing that problem, actually. Yeah. Like an IP filtering system, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so attention to students' schedules, aid for non-fluent students, the ability to review a lecture, aid for exams. Actually, this is a really big one. We see peaks, statistics. I mean, there are huge peaks before exams. What's interesting actually is that if you look at the details of which parts of the videos are being watched before exams, it's just specific pieces. So this means that students are really using search, slide navigation, chapter navigation. They're not just watching the whole courses again. This is maybe something that doesn't like immediately come to mind, but I think it's really something that should be developed in universities. Is lectures should be made available to students who have graduated maybe for a couple of years. I mean, I remember when I was in business school, I took finance. I really didn't care a lot about going to class at first, and afterwards I was interested in finance because it was relevant all of a sudden. So I would have loved to be able to re-watch my classes like 2 years ago, and I would have been happy to pay for that, actually. So I think this is an unused source of revenue, maybe even for universities. All universities have, well, most universities have previous alumni systems, and sometimes it's a bit difficult to get these people to pay their yearly fee to become to stay part of the alumni. At least if you're saying, okay, if you come to this university, you have access to your lectures for 2 years after graduating. I think that would be, I think it's a great thing to do. And well, the result of this is just a major differentiator versus other universities. As I said before, we work a lot in the UK, in Holland, in Belgium. These are countries where lecture capture is not even, it's not a question. I mean, everyone does it. And students will choose their universities according to how well and how advanced the lecture capture systems are, because this is a tool for learning. So I think that, that it is also definitely a way for a university to differentiate itself from others if you provide this as a service to students. So second application is MOOC videos. So this is typically using the studio. So you have a dedicated room for this, a bit like in this photo. This is actually a real-life photo. So here you have lighting which is set up. You have microphones, prompter screens. Everything is set up in this room, and a teacher can just go into this room, talk to the camera, and do a short video. It's called MOOCs, video booth, whatever you want to call it. The main application for this is flipping the classroom, so creating some videos before coming to class to have more interaction during the classroom. Ensure basic knowledge as well. This is something that we see a lot, so maybe before returning to class or before a lecture, creates a series of short videos, make sure that everyone has the same knowledge before they come into class, and you can maybe go directly to more advanced knowledge. And also attract top students. That's why MOOCs were designed, I guess. MOOCs are invented by the Americans, thinking marketing. So the idea is, yeah, you create MOOCs, you have a couple of videos out which are public, and you show how good your teachers are, how good the teaching is in your establishment. This is a major application for MOOCs. And so video platform, okay, we talked about this quite a bit. Just ensure access to your content. That's really important. And whether you're working with us or with whoever, I would definitely recommend that you look at how your content is going to be delivered. That's the key bottleneck of any video project. Centralize your videos and promote exploration. This is also something that we see a lot, is if you have all your videos on a single portal, and if you let maybe first-year students watch second-year videos, or if you have management students who can watch engineering videos, they will definitely explore. They will definitely watch students' videos of subjects that they're maybe not enrolled in. That's what, Coursera, that's what all edX, that's how it works. In a lot of cases, it's very segmented. You can only watch your recorded videos. I think it's a pity. And conference webcasting is also definitely an application that we address for education establishments. Live streaming, video on demand, creating a collection of the conferences that happen in your university, making sure that they are available even 2-3 years after and they don't end up on a DVD shelf somewhere. So these are the main applications that we address with, that our users use our solutions for. And we'll end with this client story. This is, just to give you an idea, actually over in 2016, this is a university in Holland. This is pronounced Nijmegen. They have 15,000 students. It's mostly a medical university. They have 54 equipped rooms and 2 mobile systems that go in rooms that are not equipped with hardware. In 1 year, they recorded 4,600 hours of lectures. It's about 800 hours a week. And the students in 1 year watched 83,000 hours. That's 9.8 years of video. Which comes out to about 160 hours per student. The way this works is that the whole system is integrated into Blackboard using LTI. All the lectures are scheduled, so there's absolutely no interaction from teachers. There are 2 things that you can put in place in your university to record lectures. It's an opt-in system or an opt-out system. Opt-in is you ask teachers who wants to be recorded. You get a couple of adventurous people, raising their hands, saying, yeah, okay, I'll go for it, They went in for the opt-out system. They just said, no, from now on, everyone is recorded, and if you don't want to be recorded, you tell us. So who doesn't want to be recorded? That works better. And they have the whole system so they have their running environment and they have a test environment. So when we do updates, because there's a lot of different software running on their university, so we test, all the software vendors make their updates on their test environment. When it works well, it goes into production. So this is an example of one deployment which works quite well. It's actually not the largest one, but it works well. So why UbiCast? I think we offer the most automated solution today in the market, from end to end. We're a single provider, and I'd say this is an extremely reliable solution. That's actually the biggest feedback that we get. We do a lot of case studies once again with users, and we tell them, can you give us a quote on our solution? And that's what they say. It works, and this is sort of almost becoming our internal tagline. It works, and we actually value reliability over innovation. So for example, we don't support VR, we don't do like 360 cameras. What we put out works. And we do this because we're present more and more across the globe, and we can't afford to have huge support teams. So we'd rather provide maybe less futuristic solutions, but at least they work. And I think that's very important for everyone. So yeah, so I think you're ready for. Should we do maybe a quick break before the demo?
No break. I think there's just questions.
Okay.
And we'll continue with the demo.
Okay, great. Do you have any questions?
Video